Good morning, welcome to another Webcam Wednesday. I think on the day of Thatcher's funeral, it's appropriate to discuss the issue of what I call self-underemployment, which is my own problem, but which I think is a problem that can apply to a lot of other people as well. On Facebook, I wittily describe myself as self-underemployed, by which I mean that it's probably due to psychological factors that I fail to derive sufficiently high income to support myself. And I think that's probably true of quite a number of people. I find that there is difficulty in working out what happens. First of all, the reason I am self-employed is that it has been impossible for me to find work with an employer. I should go into that a bit more. I've had human resources people professionally look at the way I apply for jobs, and they are unable to see any problems with the process. I have applied for literally thousands of jobs. I get probably about one interview per 1,000 applications. However, there doesn't appear to be a problem with that. So it's an imponderable situation. I think the problem with employment with an employer is that it's very hard to get through the initial gateway, as it were, because you need to persuade an expert that you're worth paying for what you do. If you're self-employed, the chances are you need to persuade amateurs that you're worth paying for what you do. The difference is that with an employer, unless you're expected to reapply for your job or reassess your work yearly or something like that, which a lot of people are, you only have to persuade people once, or you have to persuade them a low number of times. Whereas with self-employment, you have to persuade amateurs lots of times, but they are amateurs rather than experts. And that's the difference between the two. Now, there is a concept in Marxism which I find very suspicious called false consciousness, which is the idea that, hold on, I'm going to have to look at my piece of paper. Material and institutional processes are misleading and mislead people into thinking that their situation is really different than it is. I think this can be taken advantage of very easily in Marxism, in that it can make people think that what their actual sense based on their own experience of their life is of their situation is actually the wrong sense, and that people who don't have that experience are then able to persuade them that in fact that is the right interpretation of their situation. However, that situation also exists in the concept of an exaggerated sense of entitlement, which is a popular right-wing idea, that we are lazy, and maybe I am lazy. I think I am actually extremely lazy, although I don't think that actually applies to my job application situation. And so the question is there really a difference between the Marxist concept of false consciousness and the right-wing concept that that you're lazy, or that there is some mental block that prevents you from finding paid work, like perhaps your standards are too high or something, and you're not prepared to be low paid or have poor work conditions? Whereas in fact I am perfectly happy to be low paid and have poor work conditions, and I think the minimum wage is a pile of crap, because it means that people expect to be paid enormous amounts of money just for an hour's work, which, you know, I would be able to survive for 2 days on, and, you know, anyway, not the point. So is it due to a depressive outlook? Well, I would actually question that, firstly because I think depression is an accurate view of the world, and also because of the medicalization. I think that you have to take responsibility for things, and as a result, the changes in welfare, which will lead to suicides and will lead to deaths in other ways, could be seen as something which is undesirable, but also perhaps the nature of broken society and people's change in perceptions leading to that too. And in fact, I think there is honour in suicide sometimes, if that suicide is the result of the clear perception that you are no longer able to live a virtuous life. So I can imagine myself in the situation where we run out of money because of the changes in welfare, where yes, it will be my duty to commit suicide, and that's okay. Now, to move on from that rather depressing observation, a couple of other things. I think there's a problem with a mixed economy either way, because there's a conflict of interest and the two things don't match well together. I think there's a problem with scale in any kind of politics, because that scale leads to a lack of perception of responsibility and real situations, for example, bureaucracy. I also think that there's a tendency for capitalism to drift towards monopoly, which is again an unhealthy situation, and I don't know what to do about that. So, in a sense, these are thoughts on Thatcher's funeral. I think I am underemployed. I think that's a clear perception of my situation. I don't know what to do about that. I think it's possible that changes in welfare will provoke me into doing something, but I can only say that for myself and not impose that on other people. And so, yeah, that's how it is. This has been a bit long. I'm sorry about that. If you like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe, and share. If you dislike it, tell me why so I can improve. And I'll see you tomorrow.